Python dictionary. What is Python dictionary? A Python dictionary stores data in key value pairs. Let's create a dictionary called student. You put a curly brace, opening and closing curly brace, and inside this you have your key value pair. The first one is this. The key is the name and Ola is the value. Because Ola is a string, that is why it's quoted. Then you put a comma. The next key value pair is this. The key is age and the value is 14. The 14 is not quoted because it is a number. You put a comma and the last one is this. The key is sex and the value is male. Male is quoted because it is a string. You can see there is no more comma again because that is the last key value pair. Don't forget, if you want in-person training on Python, data analysis, data science, web development, and lots more, kindly reach out through chat on these numbers. Thank you very much. What is a dictionary? A dictionary is a data structure that stores data or value in key value pairs. That is what a dictionary is all about. So, in order to understand this, think of a dictionary as a normal dictionary that when you need a particular value, you check the index at the back of the dictionary. So when you get the index will give you the value at a particular page. Let's understand this together by first creating an empty dictionary. So to create an empty dictionary, we'll give it a name, student. Let's call it student details. Now, you now put a square bracket. This indicates an empty dictionary. Now let's create a non-empty dictionary that has a key value pair. Let's call it student details. Now you open a curly brace as we did before. This is a curly brace. If you like, you can write the key value pair on a straight line, or you press enter to put the opening and closing curly brace on separate lines, and you can start putting your key value pair. Now student details majorly should have name, so you have to quote the key. The key will be your name. What is the value of this name? Let's say Alice. Alice is a string, so you have to quote Alice. Now put a comma. The second key value pair, age. You have to code the key. The first thing I write is always the key, age. What is the value of this age? Let's say 25. You will not code 25 because 25 is not a string. It is a number, 25. You put a comma. What's the next key value pair? City. The value of city is, let's say, New York. So you are done with creating a non-empty dictionary. So this is how a dictionary looks like. Now, how do we access the values of a dictionary? The first thing written here is the key, and the key in front of it, after the full column, we have the value. So after the first value, you must put a comma to put the second value, and a comma to put the third key value pair. Now to access the value of a dictionary, for example, I want to get Alice. It means I can use the key name. Once the Python sees name, it gets the value of name, which is Alice. How do I achieve that? Let me say I will just say student details, put a square bracket. What is the key? You put a quotation mark, then the key is name. So this will get you the value of name, which is Alice. And I want to print this to the screen. Control X. Let me just say print. And I put this in the bracket. Let's run this program. Can you see that it gives me Alice? I can get the value of the age. Just say print students details. Then I also code the age. Then that will give me 25. Can you see it gives me 25? Now, how do we add data to a dictionary? Let's assume I want to add another key value pair to this particular dictionary. How do I achieve that? Just take the name of the dictionary, which is students details, put a square bracket, then you put the new name as if the name is existing. Let's say registered is a new key. Registered. Now, what value do I want to give this? So registered is the key, so it has a value. Let me say yes. Now I'm quoting yes because yes is a string. So let's let's give it another key value pair. Let's say students details. Let's say profession. Let's say engineer. At the moment I'm giving it a value like 25, you don't need to quote. So because I'm giving it a string value, that is what I'm quoting. So we can print the new student details. Students details. Let's print. Can you see we now have name Alice, age 25, city New York, registered yes, and profession is engineer. So we have a new key value pair in our dictionary. So don't forget to add data or key value pair to dictionary. Just bring the dictionary name and put a square bracket and put the new key equals, then you put the value. How do we update a dictionary? For example, I want to update age 25 to 27. So just say students details. What do you want to update? I want to update age to what value? So to 27. So it will erase the 25 in age and put 27. Let's print the age. Let's say student details. So I've gotten the value of age by just putting the key, which is age, in a square bracket. So let's print. So it's 27. Now, how do we remove an item from a dictionary? Okay, for example, I want to remove profession. Don't forget, profession is a new key. How do I remove that? Just say delete. Then student details. So what do I want to delete in student details? I want to delete the key profession. So let's print student details to confirm if it has been deleted. Let's expand. Can you see profession is no more in the dictionary? Now, how do we find the length of a dictionary? The same way we find the length of a list. So it's very simple. Let's just say we want to declare a variable called number of details. We want to check how many details we have about the student stored in the dictionary. So just say length of, what's the name of the dictionary? Student details. So let's just print to the screen, F string. There are number of details for who. So the details of Alice is what is contained in the dictionary, and so we can just say there are, for example, 5 or 6 details for who. For you bring this, you bring the color brace, the student details. They will pick the name key to give us the name of the name in the dictionary, which is Alice. So we can just run our code. So there are 4 details for Alice. Let's just put there are 4 details for Alice. So this is about the introduction to a dictionary in Python. So in the next class we'll continue. We want to look at how to iterate through a dictionary. This is a dictionary that contains grade. For example, those that score grade A are 20, grade B are 15, grade C are 10, and grade D are 5. All the values here are not quoted because they are numbers. So the first method to iterate through the keys. So iterating through the keys means I want to get all the keys A, B, C, D. That's my focus. So that's all the grades. So I can just say print available grades are, so say for grade in grades. If I say for grade in grades, this will pick all the keys. That's A, B, C. So print grade. Let's run the code. Can you see it picks A, B, C, D? Another method is to explicitly mention the word keys. So say for grade in grades. Grades has key and value, so I want to specify the keys. So print grade. Can you see it also print A, B, C, D? Okay. How do I iterate through the values? Instead of getting A, B, C, D, I want to get it 20, 15, 10, 5. And one of the reasons might be that I want to sum all these values. So the first way to iterate is, let's look at this example. Print number of students in each grade. That's the 15, 20. So we can explicitly mention the word key after the grade. So say for grade, or let's say for num in grades, then dot. Now I can pick the values. So print num. So let's run our code. Can you see it picks 20, 15, 10, and 5? That's the values. Let's have another example. Let's write a code to get how many students that has 20. That means once I'm getting the value, I want to check. So say for num in grades dot values. So if num, don't forget I've gotten the values now, which is the number. If num equals 20. I want to increase a counter. Let's initialize the counter to be 0. So I want the counter to increase by 1 to count the occurrence of 20 for me. Counter equals to counter plus 1. So at the end of the for loop, I want to print the counter. So let's run our code. So how many 20 are there? How many people? How many grades has 20 people? That's 1, just 1. Okay. Now let's iterate through keys to get value. How do we achieve that? That's very simple. So don't forget to iterate through the keys. We say for num or for grade. In grades. So if you say for grade in grades, this will get all the keys, or you put keys explicitly. So don't forget, I want to get all the values. So instead of using grades.values, I want to get all the values with the keys. So I'll say print. Where is the key? The key is now the grade, don't forget. So this is getting the grade. So we can now use the key to get the value. Don't forget, in our last class, we only need to say put a square bracket. So sorry, we are putting the name of the dictionary, which is say grades. So use the name of the dictionary, which is grades, then you put the key. So don't forget, each of the key now is the grade here, because this grade is getting each of the key. So we say the dictionary name, the square bracket, and the grade. So if I run this code, can you see? We are now getting all the values, 20, 15, 10, and 5. So that means we are using, we are iterating through keys to get values. Now let's look at math operation on the values. For example, I want to sum all the values in this particular dictionary. How do I achieve that? That means I need to get all the values. How do I get all the values? You can get all the values by just saying sales dot values. This will get all the values. I'm not iterating, I only need all the values. But I want to perform a sum operation on all the values and put it in a variable. Let's say total sales, then sum, then get all the values by saying sales dot values. And let's print total sales. Okay, let's try to run. So the total sales is 4,500. And the last one we want to look for now, we want to get the key value pairs at the same time using items. So before we have been trying to get the keys or iterating through the values. So now we want to get the two at the same time. So we can use the keyword items. And to get that, okay, let's try to declare another dictionary to strengthen our knowledge again. Put a curly brace. The first item is laptop. It has a value of 1,000. Second item is tablet. It has a value of 500. And the third product, smartphone, and it has a value of 800. So I want to get the laptop, which is the key, and 1000, which is the value for each of the product. So we say for product, that's laptop, then price, that's the value. So we are saying for key, comma, value in products dot, we now put the keyword items, put a full column, and we can print f string, the price of each of the products is what? Product, that's your key, is, let's put a $sign, the price. So let's run our program. The price of laptop is $1,000. The price of tablet is $500. The price of smartphone is $800. So in the next class, we are going to continue with other aspects of Python dictionary. We want to look at the methods we can use with Python dictionary. The first one is get. Get returns the value for the key and returns default value if the key is not found. So, for example, let's say we have student details dot get. So what do we want to get? We want to get value for profession, or let's say registered first, registered. You want to get the value for registered. So let's try to print this. So print. So the value for registered is yes. What if the value is not found, or that particular key registered is not found? Inside the brackets of the get, we can put a comma and put not found. So the answer is still yes, because registered is a key that exists. Let's put a key that does not exist, like let's say profession. Can you see it right, not found? Because the key profession does not exist and there is no way we can get the value, so it puts no found as the value. That is that about dot get method. The next method we want to look at is dot pop. Dot pop removes the key and returns the corresponding value. So let's say we want to remove, just say pop, a particular key. What key do you want to remove from the dictionary? Let's say we want to remove registered. Now let's print the dictionary and see if registered is removed. Let's check. Can you see? Okay, let's try to run this again. So you can see there's nothing like registered here. So it has been removed. Now pop item, remove the last inserted key value pair. So if the last inserted key value pair is salary, it will remove that. But I don't want to remove salary. Let me just write a code. So say if length of the dictionary is greater than 4, that is the only time I want to remove. So say students.details dot pop item. So it's only when the length is greater than 4. Let's check. Is the length greater than 4? This 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not greater than 4, it's just 4. So that means the removal will not take place. Let me print the student's details. So we should still see the same result, no removal, because the condition is not true. So dot keys returns all the keys of our dictionary. It's a print, and the name of the dictionary is student details. Then we put dot keys. This will return all the keys. Where are the keys? Name, age, city, and salary. Then dot values will return all the values in a dictionary. Let's print that. Student details dot values. Let's print. Can you see it returns all the values? Alice, 25, New York, and 5,000. So if I like, I can iterate through all these, which we have done in the last class. Dot update adds or changes dictionary items. Let's look at this. We have user, which has one data or key value pair, and we have default, it has 2 key value pairs. So I can say, I can update the user dictionary, user.update, update it with the default dictionary. So what will happen is that it will check the default dictionary. For example, age is 27, and check if that age 27 exists in the user dictionary. If it exists, no changes. But if it does not exist, it will go and add it to that dictionary. It will check city. If city exists, it will not do anything. But if it does not exist, it will go and add it to the user dictionary. So it has updated. Let's now print the new user dictionary. So you can see we now have more than one item. We have name, age, city in that particular dictionary. Let's look at copy. Copy, we create a shallow copy of dictionary. What do I mean? Let's say we have the new dictionary as user dictionary. So I can say copy of user. So I'll take the dictionary dot copy. So I can print the new copy of dictionary. So if I like, I can add to this new dictionary, which is copy of dictionary. It will not affect the original copy, which is user. So you can see I've created a duplicate of the user dictionary. So to achieve that, we use the copy method. And the last method we want to look at is .clear. .clear removes all items in a dictionary and it returns an empty dictionary. So you can see user .clear. Let's print user dictionary. You can see it returns an empty dictionary. So we are going to continue in the next class with dictionary. Okay, now we want to look at nested dictionary. So what is a nested dictionary? It's a dictionary within another dictionary. So we have students details, but there are many students. So you open a curly brace to indicate that this student is a dictionary. Now Alice is the first key or the first student, and it's going to have a value. But now the value is also a dictionary. And that is because there are multiple values for Alice. So the only way to achieve that, or one of the ways to achieve that, is to use a dictionary for Alice. He has a maths 85, science 92. Then Bob is a key that has a value of, which is another dictionary. So this is what we call nested dictionary. So how do we get a subject and scores for only Alice? To get that, we say, students, don't forget, use a square bracket and put the key. The key is Alice. So you have to print this in order to see the result. So print, you put this in the bracket. Let's run. Can you see that we have seen maths 85, science 92. So what this is just doing is just printing the values of the key Alice, and the value is a dictionary. Okay, let's look at another way to do that. We can just say print students dot get. What are we getting? We are getting Alice. So it will also get the value of Alice. That is it. Now the next thing we want to do is to access and print Bob's science mark. Let's analyze. We need the key Bob. So we can say students, then the key Bob. Now, what will this key Bob give me? It will give me access to the value of Bob, which is a dictionary. So when I say students Bob, I'm going to return, or the Python code will return this dictionary. So the result is now dictionary. And to have access to the value of a dictionary, so we need to use the key. What key do we need? We need a science key. And to use the key, we also need to use a square bracket. Square bracket, the key is science. And that will give me the science score of Bob. So we want to print this to the screen, Ctrl X. So let's put this in the print function. You can see that the answer is 88. Now the next thing we want to achieve is to update Alice maths to 95. That means we need the key Alice. So let's go to the key. So we say students, then the key is Alice. But we are updating its maths. Don't forget, this Alice will return the value, which is a dictionary. So the answer here is a dictionary. So to have access to maths, we need the maths. To have access to the maths value, which is 85, the maths score, so we need the maths key. So we use key, put the maths here. So we are changing the maths to what value? 95. So let's print the students, which is Alice maths. That should give us 95 now. Can you see the value is now 95? If you print the old dictionary of Alice, just a print student. I want to get dictionary of Alice. That's the value of Alice. So you can see the maths score of Alice is now 95. Okay, let's look at this example. Add a new subject history with mark 80 for Charlie. So that means we need to add, let's say, history, and the value will be 85. How do we have access to Charlie? So we say students Charlie. So we have access to this dictionary. It will return this dictionary as a value. So Let's clean this. So the first thing we want to do is to say the students. Then we go to Charlie. So we have gotten the dictionary, which is a value for Charlie. So we want to add a new subject, which is history. All we just need to do is to put a new key for the dictionary, which is what? History. And give it a value of, let's say 80. So let's print the value for Charlie now, square bracket, Charlie. So we are expecting history to be part of his dictionary. You can see we now have math 89, science 90, history 80. You can see that. So the last thing we want to do for today is to print all the students. That's the names of the students, and that will be all the keys. So how do we achieve that? We can iterate through the keys. So for student, in students, or we put the keys explicitly if you like. So print the student. So let's run our program. You can see Alice, Bob, and Charlie. So this is the first part of our nested dictionary. In the next class, we continue with nested dictionary. This is part 2 of our nested dictionary. So let's examine this dictionary. We want to print each student with his subject and score. For example, we want to say Alice, which is the first key here in our dictionary, and print this as maths 85, science 92. That means we need to iterate through the inner dictionary in order to be able to get the key value pair of this inner dictionary, which is a value for Alice. So the first thing we need to do is to iterate through the entire dictionary. So we can say for students, which is the key, comma, then the subject is the value, subject, in students dictionary. So to get the key value, we need to put dot items, then you put a full column. So we have gotten the Alice here, which is the student. So if you print student, let's print student. So what did we get? We get Alice, Bob, and Charlie. But we need Alice and his scores. So that means after getting Alice, that's the first student here, we need to iterate through its values again, which is a dictionary. Why do we need to iterate through its values? Is because it's a dictionary. So we can use a for loop again for subject. This is the key, then the score is the value. Check. We want to iterate through this in our dictionary now. So subject is the key, which is math, then the score is the value. So in what are we iterating through? We are iterating through the values of Alice, which is the subject here. The subjects here hold the values of the first key, which is Alice. So in subjects, don't forget to get the key value of the dictionary. We need the dot items, Now we can now print the subject and score for that dictionary. So we can say print f string. You can say subject, which is subject we got, and we can put a score here. So let's run. Can you see for Alice, maths is 85, science is 92. So after iterating through the inner dictionary, it will go to the second key of the main dictionary, which is Bob. It will print Bob here and do an iteration for the Bob's value, which is another dictionary. So for subject score in subjects.items, it will get the subject and the score for Bob. After doing that for Bob, it goes through the outer for loop again to get Charlie and its dictionary, which is this. So it will iterate through the value, which is the dictionary, again to get the maths and the score. So that is exactly what we have done here. Okay, what is the total score of Alice? So to get the total score of Alice, first thing is to get Alice. So to get Alice, we say students, then Alice. So what have we gotten here? We have gotten the value of Alice, which is a what? Dictionary. Now in a dictionary, how do we get the values? We have key maths, the value is 85. How do we get the values? We use dot values to get the values. So the next thing is to put dot values after here. So we can print this. Print. So we have 85 and 92 for Alice, but that is not where we are going. We want to find the sum. So we can just put that in a variable. Let's say total. So we can now print, or we can put our sum function here. We can put any function, sum function, max function. So, but here we are summing, so we put our sum function and we'll print the total. So the total score for Alice in all the subject is 177. What is the highest score in math? That means we have to iterate through this dictionary and get the score for maths and probably store it in a new list and look for the maximum in that particular list. So how do we iterate and get the mass? Say for student or we can say for subject, since we need only the values for subject in students dot values. So this will iterate through the values in our dictionary. What are the values? The values are this. They are also dictionary. So that means we can have access to that dictionary again. So now the subject is now picking each of the dictionary, which are values to the keys in this student's dictionary. So we want to pick the maths key. So now if we pick the maths key, we can get the value for each maths. But we need to append this to a new dictionary math score. So we can just say math score dot append. What are we appending? We are appending the math score, which is this. At the end of the day, after the loop, if you print math score, you should have a list. Okay, it's supposed to be maths. Can you see you have a list of math score, and here we can look for the marks. So you can look for the marks function, and that will give us 89. So the last example we want to look at on the nested dictionary is, who is the student that has 80 in maths? That's very simple. So here we need the values again, this dictionary. We need the values. How do we get the values? So we can iterate and say for subject in students dot values. So if subject don't forget, we now got the values, which is this. You have gotten this. So to not get the math value, which is 35, so we have to put the key there, subject, and the key is math. So if this equals 35, then we print. What do we want to print? We want to print the key. Okay, so we need the key value here. So this is student, comma. So instead of using dot values, we use dot items. So we want to print the key, which is the student, for that particular mark. So let's print. So the answer here is Alice. So Alice is a student that has 80 in maths. Let's cross check. Sorry, that has 85 in maths. You can see Alice has 85 in maths. We want to look at dictionary in a list. If you check this, this is a list because it has a square bracket, and each item in the list is a dictionary. So we have 3 dictionaries as items in that particular list. So to get each item in this list, we can iterate through the list. For example, we are asked to print name and age of each student. So to get access to this name and age inside this dictionary, we have to get access to the list. So for student in students. Now this student is getting hold of an item in the list, which is a dictionary. So we can say this student is a dictionary. So now we can use that dictionary to have access to the values. So we can print f string. So let's have the name here. So we'll now use a student, which is now a dictionary. We use the key name to pick the name Alice. Then we use the key grade. You can say student, don't forget, student is now our dictionary. Then grade to pick the grade A, and that will be done for others. So let's run our code. Can you see? Alice A, Bob B, and Charlie A. Now, how many students score A? How many students score A? So we need to access grade of each of the students. So to have access to the grade, we first need to enter the list or iterate through the list. So we can say for student in students. Now we have access to each item, which is a dictionary. So to pick the grade, so we can say if student, which is now a dictionary, grade. So this will pick the grade. Don't forget, we need students that score A equals A. Then we have to count. That means we can initiate our counter to be 0. So we can increase the counter by 1. Counter equals counter plus 1. So at the end of the day, we can print the count outside the loop. So you put the counter, students that scored A. So let's print. Can you see there are 2 students that scored A? So the next thing we want to look at now is we want to see who is the oldest student or eldest student. To achieve that, we also need to get into the list first. So we have to iterate through the list. Now we can get each of the age, but the easiest for us is to get each of the age in another list. Then we can now use the max function to get the maximum age. That will be the oldest person. Okay, let's iterate through the list. So for student, in students. Now we need another list that we are going to append the student age. Don't forget, student now is a dictionary, so I can get student age. So let's say ages as a new list. So we now have a student. So we can just say ages dot append each student age. Then we can print, can use f string, the maximum of the oldest student or we can say the eldest among the students is. So we can get a max of what? Ages is a list, so we can get max of ages. So let's print. Can you see the eldest among the students is 22 years. So that is that about having a dictionary inside a list. Now we want to look at having lists in a dictionary. This courses is a dictionary. You can see the curly brace. So we have the programming as a key here, and this is the value, which is a list. So let's print the topics for programming. So that means we want to print this list. To have access to this list, we need to use the key of the dictionary. So we can say print. So how do I have access to the key? So we use the dictionary name, then a square bracket, and the key programming. So that will give us this as a list. So let's print, right click, print. But we should be able to have access to this as a separated comma or comma separated string. So how do I have achieved that? We can say print, okay. We can say quote for each of the item in the list. I want to use a comma. So that means you use the join method to join each of the item in the list. Where is the item in the list? Courses, then programming. So this is giving me a list. So this join, we join each of the item in the list with a comma. So can we print this? Control X, print. Let's see. So can you see Python, comma, OOP, comma, and web. Now let's display each course and their topics. For example, we say programming, Python, OOP, web. Data science, starts, ML visualization. That means we need the key in the dictionary and the value. So how do we get access to that? We say for. So we need the key and the value. Can we just get the key and the value at the same time? Yes, we can get it. Let's say course is the key, comma, then topics should be the value. So we are getting access to these and the value at the same time. In courses. Now, we want to display the key first. So we'll print. You can use F string. The key is, okay, we can use F string. So we'll say the key is now course, don't forget. Then we can put a full column. Then we use a curly brace. Now, how do we get access to the value here, which is the topics now? So the same way we got access to the value, we can just say topics. Let's print. It says too many values unpaired. Okay. That is because we did not provide items here, items method. So let's look at the output. So can you see programming? Then it lists all the courses, data science, all the courses, cybersecurity, all the courses. But let me use comma for each of the item in the list. So we can just say we want to join. Join what? We want to, okay, let's use this. We want to join a comma. Use the join method for each of the item in the topics list. So let's print now. Can you see? Starts, ML, visualization. So we can make this more readable. Put a space here. So let's print again. Can you see we have programming, which is Python, OOP, web, data science, starts, and the rest like that. So we have achieved the second task. The third task is to add a new topic to an existing course. So for example, let's add data structure to programming. So we want to say here data structure. So how do we append to this list? To get this list, we must use the key programming. So we can just say courses programming. That will give us this list or this value. Then we can append to that particular list. So we can just say courses programming. So this will give us the value, which is the list. Then we can now append to that list. Sorry, courses. So we can now append to that list. What do we want to append? We want to append our data structure. So we can just quote data structure. So let's clean this that we added manually. So now we can print courses, then programming and verify. Let's print. So you can see in the list of the courses now we now have data structured appended to that value or list. Okay, display courses that include ML. Display courses that include ML. So how do we achieve that? That means if programming include ML, I want to display programming. If data science include ML, I want to include data science. That means we need this key and its value. We want to access the two at the same time. Okay. So you can use the for loop for, let's say the key is the course. Then the value is the topics in which dictionary courses. Then because we need the key and the value at the same time, we use .items. So if we can quote ML, if ML in topics, don't forget this topics is now the value which is a list. If ML in the list, so we can use in operator in topics. So what we want to do, we want to print the attached course, which is the key. We want to print the course here, which is the key. So let's run the program. Can you see it's only data science that include ML? You can see in data science we have what we call ML, that's machine learning. Okay, let's look at this data structure. This is a dictionary. Can you see the first and the last curly brace? And inside the dictionary, we have lists as values for each key. And inside each value, we have dictionary as items. And can you see the complexity? This is not too complex. We are going to start navigating. Display all categories with their products and prices. We want to display electronics, which is a category. We want to display home appliance, which is a category, and under each, we want to have product name and price, product name and price. So for us to have access to the electronics and home appliance, that means we need the key. So say for, so let's say category is the key, category, comma, then the product is the value, product, in which dictionary, product catalog. But since we are getting the key and the value at the same time, we use items. So the first thing we want to do is to print the category. So we can say print. Can we use F string? F. Then we bring the category, which is the key. So this will print electronics home appliance, but it will start with the first one. Now, after printing the first category, before printing the second category, I want to have access to the value of this particular category, and that value is a list. And that value is products here, which means products is a list, and I can iterate through that list. So I'm going to say for product in products. Now I have access to each of these now. Each of them is an item in the list. So I can use that, take that item, which is a dictionary, don't forget. I can get the name or I get the price. But I need the two together, so I can print, use F string, get the product name. They can use a full column. Then they get the product price. Okay, why do we have an error here? Okay, we are supposed to have product. So let's try to print this. Can you see we have electronics? Under electronics, we have smartphones, 699, laptop, tablet, then home appliance. So after each category or before each category, I want to put a new line before each category. Sorry, the new line should come before. Let me print again. Okay, so for electronics, I have smartphone, laptop, and tablet. For home appliance, I have refrigerator, microwave, washing machine, along with their prices. So I've achieved that. Display products in the electronics category. So that means I only need this electronics category. So that's, and the products are values of the key electronics. So can I just streamline what I'm going to iterate through? I don't want to iterate through the entire dictionary. I want to iterate only the electronics category. So how do I pick the electronics category? I can use product catalog, then electronics. Can you see? This will give me access to the value of electronics, either which is what? Which is a list. So if this is giving me a list, it means I can iterate through these lists. And once an iterate through, each item is a dictionary. So let me get each item as a dictionary by iterating through the list. So all I just need to do is to say for product in the electronics category. So don't forget, this product catalog electronics is what? Is giving me a value, which is this list. And I'm able to iterate because this is a list. Now, after iteration, I can get each item, which is now a dictionary. So this product is a dictionary. So I can now display the product name and price for the electronics category is F string. So I can say, how do I get the product name? I'll use a dictionary, which is an item in the list, to pick the value by using the key. What's the key? Name. So product, then price. So let's print. Okay, let's just have a heading for this. Print products in the electronics category. Can you say products in the electronic category? It is a good idea to store this as a variable so that in case the value changes, I want to get a product in the home appliance category. So this can just be prod underscore cart category. So I can give it any value here. I can just say electronics. So instead of having electronics here, I can put prod category. So in case I can always change the product category here, this will still give me the same answer. Okay. Sum the prices of all products in electronics category. We still need to iterate through the electronics category. Let's say for products in product catalog. So we are choosing the electronics category. What do we want to do? We want to sum all the prices. That means we can append all the prices inside another list. So let's create prices list. Let's give it an empty list. So we can say prices dot append. So what are we appending? Don't forget, this is now a dictionary. Sorry. So we can now say prod. What is the key in each of the dictionary? So we have we are looking for the price. So at the end of the day, we want to print the prices, but we want to sum all the prices. So we can use F string, the sum of the prices in the electronics category is, so you can use the sum method, and we are summing the prices. So let's run our program now. Okay, can we have a look? The sum of the prices in the electronic category is 2,398. Now the last one we want to look for now is add a new product with price to an existing category. Let's still add that to our electronics category. So how do we achieve that? So we can say, take our our dictionary, the electronics. You can write the electronics dot append. So let's go back to it. So we are saying product at category. This will return, if I say product catalog electronics, it will return a list. It will give me the values, a list. So inside this list, I have dictionary as an item. So that means I can append a dictionary to this particular list. So now I have gotten the lists by just saying the dictionary, then electronics. That will give me the list. Then the list dot append. What do I want to append? I want to append a dictionary. So the first one is name. And the value of name is, let's say, smartwatch. Then the second key value pair is price. And let's say the value is 199. So I think I've been able to achieve that. So if you print the electronics category now, you should be able to see the smartwatch and the price. Now we want to write a quiz app to strengthen our knowledge on dictionary. It's a very simple quiz app. Okay, let's run the program. Welcome to quiz game. What is the capital of France? Let's say Paris. It says correct. What is 2 plus 2? Let's say 6. Wrong. The correct answer was 4. What color is the sky? Blue. Correct. Your score is 2/3 and the program terminates. Okay, can I just start writing the program by just saying print welcome to quiz game. Yes, I have achieved the first line here. Okay, what is the capital of France? Paris. That means I need input from user, and the prompt should be what is the capital of Paris. Can I say user answer is input what is the capital of Paris? I put a full column. Answer. Now, if the user enters Paris, it stores Paris in user answer. But how does it compare it with the original answer Paris? So we can't go through this route. Let's see this as a loop. Can you see this? What is the capital of France? The answer, correct. The next question, what is 2 plus 2? The answer, wrong. Another loop. What color is the sky? So this is a loop. So we are going to loop through the above dictionary. So this dictionary has a key pair value. Can you say this is the key, which is the question? This is the answer, which is the value. So we can loop through a dictionary. So that means we need the key and the value. The key is the question, the value is the answer. So we can say for, we can say question, which is the key, comma value, which is the answer, in which dictionary, questions dictionary, but because we need the key and the value, so we're going to use dot items. Now we want a prompt, the first loop. Now can you see the first loop? the question should come, or a prompt should come that requires an answer. So we can say user answer. Now the prompt should now come input. So the input should read what is the capital of France. I cannot afford to type this. What is the capital of France is coming from the dictionary, which is the what? Which is the key. So how do I get this key? I have gotten the key here. The key is the question. So I only need to put the question as a prompt. So it will put what is the capital of France. Then I want to concatenate that with a space. Now, in case the user enters any case, since the case here is lowercase, I want to always convert the user's input to lowercase. So dot lower. We can now compare. If user answer equals, now this answer here, we can't say Paris because there will be another question that requires another answer. So the answer here should be, the user answer should be compared with the answer coming from the dictionary, which is the current answer, Paris. So answer, print correct. Now, if it prints correct, we can rest assured that the answer is correct. Else, it should print, you can use F string, wrong. The answer was, then you put the original answer here. So, but we want to say at the end of the day that your score is, you want to put your score is probably 3/3, 2/3. So we need, say your score is, now we need to take note of how many score was gotten right. So that means we need to increment a counter if user answer equals answer. So we have to initialize the counter. Let's say score was 0 here. So if the score is correct, then you increment score by 1. So at the end of the for loop, we should have generated the total value for correct answer, which is score, slash, this is not division, it's just slash. The length of the total question is 3. How do we get that? We can get the length of the dictionary, length of the dictionary questions. Okay, let's run our program. Welcome to quiz game. What is the capital of, let's say, Paris? Correct. 2 plus 2 is 4. Correct. What color is sky? Let's say blue. Correct. Your score is 3/3. Let's get it wrong. What is the capital of France? Let's say London. Wrong. The answer was Paris. Let's get this right. And let's say the sky, the color of the sky is red. So you score 1/3. So this is a very fantastic program and it's very simple.